You know what it is, man. This one's gonna be about the Proud Boys again, man, because I got my man calling in, did over 40 years in federal prison and state prison and connected with all the different gangs and fractions that these brothers are getting ready to go through. So, just sit back and enjoy the ride, man. All right. All right, you know what it is. Unique Mecca Audio, man. I'm sitting here, man. My man Mike getting ready to call in, man. And he going to break down to y'all, what these brothers is getting ready to experience. All right? So, I'm going to talk while, the little recording and all that go through, because you already know how that is.
The prepaid debit call from...
All right? So this what it is. Just sit back, He's going to break down
State Penitentiary.
how
To accept this call, press
these brothers is going to be
to refuse this
treated,
call,
welcomed,
hang up, or press
and,
four.
the different
To present
situations
calls
they
from
may
this
go
facility,
on,
press
you know?
9.
And I'm going to let him
This
tell
call is
you.
from a PRC correctional facility and is subject to monitoring and recording. Utilization of an unapproved application and three-way calls to communicate are strictly prohibited and a violation
Man, I
of
hated that
PRC
when I was in the
policy.
inside.
Thank you
Didn't
for
y'all?
using GTL.
Don't
you
go
for
inside so
using
y'all ain't
GTL.
got to hate this with us. Yeah, what up?
Hey, what's up, bro?
All right. Tell him,
Just checking on you.
yeah, tell him, how long you been locked up. Give me a short synopsis on your case and how you're qualified to speak on what the Proud Boys is getting ready to enter and walk into from a white perspective. And make sure you let them know that you are Caucasian, so that, YouTube got these, hold on, YouTube's got these trolls and rat bastards and flip-flop wearing in public dudes that look for anything to criticize. So just let them know your ethnic background and, your credentials.
Yeah, to do that. Yeah, well, I mean, I got this case. I got this case when I was 17. I turned 18 when I got caught. I'm in for killing another guy. Been in for since March of 1978, so almost going on 46 years. Been here. Started out in Ohio right here. Did 17 years in Ohio. Then they sent me to the feds because attempted murder on the warden, having bombs, bullets, zip guns, taking hostages, breaking out of supermax cells, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then they sent me to the feds, which they sent me straight to the federal supermax in Colorado, where I met you at Unique.
Yeah.
And I was in the feds for 26 years, and I ran all the yards that I was on for our independent dudes, which means, independent is different than tipped up, being in a gang. So anybody that's not in a gang is considered independent. And I ran all the independent dudes, which is about 3,500 dudes in the federal system and in the United States penitentiaries, not counting the FCIs or nothing.
Okay.
And I did that for 46 years. And when I come back, I should point out too, when I come back here to the Ohio for, because Ohio had no plans to return me for the remainder of my sentence, to keep me in the feds. But when I was at Hazleton, then the captain said I had too much control on the yard. He was shipping me out, which I was going to Victorville in California. And before I left, if you're a shot caller on the yard, you're allowed to put somebody else in charge when you leave. And I put Freddie G's in charge of the yard. And while I was out there, a couple of years after I was out there, Whitey Bulger came to the yard, and he was a big time rat from Boston. And Freddie and a couple other guys ended up going over there and killing him. My name came up in it, that I let him run the yard. And just because that, how the feds are, man, they trip on everything. And then they said I was persona non grata in the feds and sent me back to Ohio. So that's what I'm doing back here now.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you understand who this is. He's going to break down what these men is getting ready to face and what they're walking into from storming the Capitol. Now, you mentioned about Whitey Bulger, so let them know, were you there when Whitey Bulger got murdered, killed, whatever it was?
You said, where was I at?
Yeah.
I was out at Victorville, out there on the high desert, about 80 miles out of L.A. And I was out there for a couple of years when Whitey Bulger actually went to Hazleton in West Virginia. And then he come in at about 11:30 that night and was killed like 6:30, 6:45 that morning. So as soon as they opened the doors up, motherfuckers went over there and killed him.
Okay, we're going to speak on that in a whole nother interview. But now, tell them what, how they're going to be received, because I told them earlier that, as far as the gangs, how they're going to receive them, that, they're going to get like a hero's welcome. You know what I mean? Break it down how they're going to be received when they come in.
Yeah, they're definitely going to get a welcome, especially from the skinheads and the dudes that are tipped up, in gangs. That's what they call them, tipped up, when they say they're in gangs. And they're going to get all the respect in the world, when they come in and stuff. They're going to have a little bit of influence, but not much, only because it's so protective. The influence is so protective in the federal system, especially with the white guys. And if anybody knows anything about the white car, it's me, because I ran that motherfucker for 26 years. And so what's going to happen is they're going to come in and have their influence and stuff, and they're going to, sway things this way, because they'll have a focal point to concentrate on the streets. And people are going to know that they got that power on the streets, and they still have people out there, et cetera, et cetera. So other dudes are going to gravitate toward that. Now, but they're not going to, they're going to be able to mainly influence by certain groups of skinheads, not all of them, and because some of them are pretty big groups, and got their own control out there on the streets. And like the American Front, for example, out Pacific Northwest, they're pretty big. And as far as the gangs, the gangs are going to recognize some stuff. But again, the influence is protected, because nobody's going to tell the gangs what to do, because that's what they got people in charge for. As far as the independent dudes go, there's going to be dudes, there's going to be some that recognize what they did and stuff, and some guys say, oh, yeah, all right, well, I can respect that, And those guys don't fully understand exactly what's going on. But as an independent, listen, I can tell you for myself, like, independent dudes, they're like anti-Trump. Like I have no love for Trump, and a lot of the independent dudes, if not all of them. Well, I can't say all. It's 3,500. I can't speak for everybody, but they don't like Trump because of what he represents, and like we was talking a while back about him. Trump, he got in there for his little 4 years and put those conservatives on the U.S. Supreme Court, and nobody's seen all the changes that they're going to do over the next 20, 30 years as they're sitting on there, taking the women's rights away. One, abortion stuff, that was just a start. And him getting back in there is just making it worse. And we went from the Democrats giving us, giving prisoners, because that's what we're looking at in prison. Like, people aren't seeing what we see in prison. And, people are starting to get out, a whole bunch of people, it's just like with the COVID, people got compassionate releases and stuff. You could have never got that out of Republicans. And, but anyway,
but it was Donald Trump who signed off on it. Hold on, with his attorney general is the one that put that in place right after I came home. What was his name? The crazy one. He's the one. Excuse me for saying crazy, but he was this tough cookie. What was his name, man? Right. What was his name? The one that he put in that he had a hard time with, that went in there and did the Mueller investigation and covered up that whole thing by saying, oh, it was nothing. After all that investigation. What was his name? Put it in the comments, y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but go ahead, because I follow all of that. I'm going to start speaking on that more. I can't remember his name, man. It'll come back. Yeah. But that's where I'm at.
Well, Yeah. Donald Trump he's going to answer here because like me and the brothers up here that it's on my tier right now. We were all talking stuff, and like I was telling them, I said, man, like he's got 4 indictments right now, so he's got a whole bunch of things to worry about. Not only that, but you got this goofball Rudy Giuliani that started the
RICO.
He got RICO, and he was the one that started the whole RICO thing to bring the mob down. The families, bring them down and stuff.
And now that's what's bringing him down.
Yeah, and then and I can guarantee, and you know this, Unique, man. As soon as that dude smells a whiff of prison,
oh, you already know,
and he knows that he's going to come. Oh, he's gonna sing like a canary on a ski.
Rat bastard.
He's gonna tell on everything. Not only him, but Trump's not paying any of them people's legal fees, and this guy's worth billions, supposedly, and he's not paying it. He's not helping any of those people out. So when it comes time to push the sheriff that they know they're actually going to do some time, and listen, let me make this point. Under that RICO, that's mandatory prison. You can't get no probation and stuff like that. If they're going to convict them, they got to do time. And them people aren't going for that. At least half them people are going to start telling on him whatever they need to do to sell him out to save themselves from coming to prison.
But see, that's what I'm saying, Mike. The American people, no disrespect, you know what I mean, that, that's on this side of the YouTube world. They're so busy worried about who told on who got much money, who talking to who having sex with who retired from rapping, and that's what they're into.
Yeah.
They don't really pay attention to what's really going on in the world on this side. They get consumed with scrolling through TikTok looking for that type of, content instead of knowing what's going on in current affairs. You understand? Meaning, here we go, like you said, he done put these Supreme Court judges in, and while they was, going through the transformation to get in, they all agreed that they wouldn't go back and overturn any previous precedents that was in place. And the first thing they did was go and overturn Roe versus Wade, when that was the focal point of bringing in Brett Kavanaugh and, and everybody else that they snuck in. While everybody was busy focusing on Donald Trump with with the impeachment, they was putting in hundreds of judges that y'all don't even know about, still don't even know about. But let me ride, Mike. Let me ride. Let me go back to what we were saying about Donald Trump. And where did we leave off at that we were saying? It was something we were saying, and I pivoted as usual. That's my man, I call him back. Yeah, but man, I can't remember it, man. But we're talking about the RICO, that it's mandatory that they get X amount of time for the RICO. It's mandatory that they do jail time. The minimum time for a RICO is like 20 years. That's the minimum for a RICO. So they're looking at 20 years. Look, they're looking at 20 years, minimum for the RICO. That's for drugs. I don't know what it is for, but that's some serious stuff that they got too. But whatever it is, I know it's over 5 years because General Conspiracy 371, 18 USC 371 is automatic 5 years. So we already know they're getting over 5 years. But when you talk about a RICO, that doubles in time. So the same way it went up from 10 to life for the conspiracy for drugs, it went up to 20 to life when they gave me the CCE, which is equivalent to the RICO. So them giving these Donald Trump and them RICOs, they're looking at a minimum of 10 to 20 years, man. Do you think these people is not going to talk? I hope not. Huh? But let me finish, Mike. Hold on, Mike. One second. Let me say that because you got these red bastards and trolls and flip-flop wearing and public clowns out here that were trying to misconstrue something that I didn't get to finish. What I'm saying is, if they knew what they was doing, they broke the law, they need to stand strong and represent that and stand as a unit. If they really didn't know what they was doing, they feel that they was manipulated, this and that, and they really were manipulated, then you already know they're going to tell. So that's what it is. You understand what I'm saying? You know and I know from the evidence and what we see with our eyes that you can't change. You understand what I'm saying? that this is people that went to the best schools in the world. So if they don't comprehend what calling down to another state to say, hey, find me this, you know what I mean? Because I need that. If they understand what that means after they don't went to Harvard and the biggest schools that they have here, Yale, and they don't understand that, then I mean, come on. If you want your eyes to believe that, you believe that. You know what I mean? But, you know, it is what it is. Yo, hold on, Mike. Hold on. This big Buck. Hold on. Yo, Buck, what up?
What up, Unique? How you doing?
Man, I'm good. I'm doing it live right now, just letting you know. Now, it's not live, but I'm pre-recording something you called. So, you know, it's being recorded. I'm like, you know, I don't do the thing like that. So I'm letting you know. So if you want to say something, you can say something. We can finish, have a little short convo. I was talking about the Proud Boys. Now, if not, you know, I'll call you back when I get off. But I just want to let you know I'm in the middle of recording.
Call me back when you get off.
All right, family. All right. All right. One. Give me about 30 minutes. All right. One. You know, see, that's how men do. See, I would never answer the call, record somebody, and not tell them that they're being recorded. Suckers do that. You know what I mean? I'm not going to do that. You know, so I gave him an opportunity because you don't take away a man's choice to be a man. See, if my man wanted to talk, he would have said, yeah. He said he didn't want to talk. You know what I mean? He said that, you know, for me to call him back when I get off. But I gave him the opportunity to let him know that we are recording. And they said, oh, I forgot to tell you. You know what I mean? And put his business out there. Nah, wrong nigga. Not no rat bastard. You know what I mean? Let's get that straight. But like I said, you know, we were saying Giuliani is the one who, you know, used the RICO in the manner to tear down the mob, John Gotti and everybody, and now they're using that to allegedly tear him down. You know, so it is what it is. I hope he don't wind up telling, but he gonna be facing 20 years in a minute. So Giuliani, I mean,
Thank you for using GTL.
you know, hold strong. Might go call back in a minute, but I just wanted y'all to fully understand where we at. That we're at a trying time, man. You know what I mean? The brother on the left, you know, Joseph Biggs, like I said, he got sentenced to 17 years. He cried and wept in court. You understand? And then asked that, you know, they allow him to see, you know, to one day walk his daughter to school when they took me away from mines for 26, like I said earlier. Just giving you a recap until, you know, the homie called back, you know. And then we got Zachary Rahl, you know, I think it's spelled R-A-H-L, just to pronounce things right and be proper, got 10 years. You know what I mean? He too cried in court. You see how these dudes, they cry in court. You know what I mean? But when he got sentenced, after he got sentenced and he cried, he walked out the courtroom, pumped his fist and said, Trump won. You know what I mean? Trump won. Man, he's going in and heroes welcome to the brothers that's in the, you know, supremacist gangs in there, you know. So that's what it is, man. You know, but I don't know where we going and what we going to really do in 2024, and I'm really interested to see how that's going to play out. But y'all be real careful during that time.
Debit call from
All
an
right,
inmate at the Ohio State Penitentiary.
let's get him in.
This call is from a DRC correctional facility and is subject to monitoring and recording. Utilization of an unapproved application and three-way calls to communicate are strictly prohibited and a violation of DRC policy. Thank you for using GTL. Thank you for using GTL.
All right. Yeah, go ahead. Finish where you was at, man. You know, we're talking about, you know, how the Proud Boys is going to be welcome, reunited, and then we was talking also about how Giuliani created the RICO, well, mastered the RICO to bring down the mafia, and now they, you know, allegedly using that against him to bring him down.
Yeah, that's ironic there. I laughed about it. But, you know, it makes me think about this picture of him, of Rudy Giuliani. He's having a media interview, and he said, yeah, of course I'm sweating on the indictment and stuff. And as he was having that, then they brought the indictment, heard the indictments come down. And even at his old age, you know, I don't know how old I was, in his 80s, 90s, or whatever, but, you know, you see on the right-hand side of his forehead, he's got sweat running down, and it's all mixed up with real dark stuff. And I noticed it was hair dye. So even at his age, he's trying to, you know, he dyes his hair and make sure he don't have no gray in it and stuff. You know, that vein, but it's all running down the side of his face because he's sweating so bad about that indictment. And I thought it was kind of ironic that he started all the RICO stuff, take the mob down, and now it's used against him. And he's got some mandatory sentence time. That's another point I wanted to make out is I noticed that watching all those people that have been indicted, they all come out and they have an interview with the media and stuff, and they ask them, "Do you still believe this?" And they say, "Yeah, of course everything was stolen from Trump." So that's their defense, because once they believe, or they get people to believe that these guys actually believed in what they're saying, it's harder to indict to find them guilty of what they really believed in. So there's going to have to be some other stuff we see come up later on, but they're all sticking to their story, because if they don't, then it becomes real wishy-washy. But yeah, speaking of the Proud Boys, though, they're going to come into prison, and I'm assuming, I don't know about all of them, but I'm assuming that they're going to come over to the USPs and do X amount of years over there first before they get some type of security reduction and go down to an FCI or whatever. But they're going to come in, and dude's going to slap them on the back and just what they've heard on the news and everything. But listen, there's also going to be other people that are so not naive, and I say other people as far as the white guys there, the white community in the pens. They're not, those guys are not so naive that they don't, just because a dude's done something, that everybody else is slapping them on the back. You're going to get other guys that are going to kind of investigate them guys with a fine-tooth comb, because they want to know if they did any downward departures or try to sell anybody out or whatever. I don't know what the case may be, but if there's anything fucked up about it, dudes are going to find out. And then if there was, or
hold on, Mike,
anything,
Mike, tell them what a downward departure is so they understand.
Well, a downward departure is when a guy got indicted, he's got crime partners, and then he tells on his crime partners to get a lesser security and lesser time and stuff. That's called a downward departure, and usually it comes up in their paperwork, and that's why the administrations all frown on guys getting their paperwork. They're not allowed to walk around with their paperwork or show other people, because they don't want people to inquire about having downward departure. Because a downward departure, at least I can speak for the white community in the federal system. Anybody that's got a downward departure, anybody that's in for child molestation, child killing, any type of rape, they're automatically going to get beat off the yard. They're not allowed to stay on the yard with people that are in good standing. Zero toleration on that. Even homosexuals, they're not allowed on the yard.
Hold on. We don't say that word here, Mike. We say he cipher, monkey cipher. You're not allowed to say that on YouTube, so don't use that word again. My people know what we're talking about. Okay, go ahead. Okay,
well, that's the reality of prison. If we're talking about the realities of prison, and but there's no toleration. If dudes come in and they're telling on something, downward departures or whatever, they're getting smashed off the yard, and like feds always, you always put 2-3 guys on one just to make sure that they, because one of the rules in the white community is nobody's allowed to leave standing up. No, you can't just tell a dude, hey, you're fucked up or you're messed up. You got to leave. He's got to be beat off the yard. Mm-hmm. And he's got to be beat off the yard. And there's no exceptions to the rule. And the people that are sent to do it, the dudes are called, it's called put in work. Well, they're called on to put in the work. They have to do it right, because if they don't do it right, that's going to be an embarrassment for them. It's going to be an embarrassment for their car, meaning that they're homeboys. And they're going to, when they come out of the hole, they're going to have to do it again, because they've made an embarrassment of it for themselves and their homeboys.
So they get a do-over.
Well, yeah, they're going to have to do it again, yeah. And then, and if it comes to the point where guys feel like they're just faking because they're worried about a case or something like that, as crazy as it sounds, they're going to get hands put on them when they come back out. They're going to get beat up and blooded up and sent on their way. And the rule is, I mean, I used to have a rule, and like I said, I've run plenty of those yards, and my rule was if you had to get beat off the yard for doing something that's messed up, that you're putting everybody else's life in jeopardy, or you're doing things that might start a war between anybody, could be a race war, anything, because there are guys that try to do that stuff, and I can think of a few incidents in my 26 years, and I've been on those yards where dudes come out and do really, really stupid stuff, and I'm sure you remember back in early 2000s. Remember when the skinheads come out at Florence? Remember that when they did all that stuff out there about, and then they got into it with the blacks, and then fucking everybody else gets into it, and knives pulled out, and dudes are stabbing each other, and what happens? The guard tower opens up, and they shoot one black dude and one white dude. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
So, so people don't understand it. That, those yards can be really dangerous if you don't have dudes like the shot callers that know what they're doing and stuff. Keep them dudes in line, and it's a hard rule.
Now, tell them again how long you've been locked up, Mike.
I'm 45 and a half right now.
What year you went to prison?
I went to prison in March of '78.
Okay, how many years you ran the cars, the white cars, in the different prisons that you was in?
Well, just in the feds, I was in the feds 26 years. So, when I first went to the feds from Ohio, I went straight to the ADX where you and I met. So take that 4 years off of it. So 22 years I ran the car out of the 26 I was there, because the first 4 years was at Federal Supermax in Colorado.
And so you know who Mike is. Hold on, Mike. When I was doing my 2255 in 1998, right, I was studying for my GED with help from brothers like Mike that taught me how to read. And this is a white man on the phone. So y'all understand, because I get along with everybody, you know what I mean? Because I don't see color and all of that, I see a man's character. Now, and he had morals and principles that coincided with mine, so that made him my brother. Now, he typed up my paperwork to send it into the prison in 1998, and I'm still appreciative of that the brother calls me, whenever he can, whenever he want. I don't care what time it is, whatever. If I'm not in harm's way, running the streets or whatever, he know I answer and tell him I'm outside, whatever, and I give him the utmost respect, because you don't forget people like that. He typed my legal papers for me to obtain my freedom for my direct appeal and for my to the Supreme Court. And I won in the Supreme Court, so I thank Mike for, him and Dave Joe Levette. I won in the Supreme Court, thanks to them from 1999, and they still refuse to see me by using what they call jurisdictional, hurdles to keep me from bringing my freedom papers in front of the judge from 1999 until 2020. So you understand how serious this is. So you youngins that think it's easy, want to go to jail, I'm going to join the Proud Boys, I'm going to join the Bloods, I'm going to join the Crips, I'm going to join the GDs, I'm going to join the Skinheads, you know what I mean? It's easy to get into trouble. In decades, sometimes even a lifetime to get out, because my brother been in there 45 and a half years, So talk to him about that, Big Mike.
Yeah, it takes a while, especially like one thing, just like Ohio here is like, I've done my share of stuff, but I haven't been in any, real serious stuff in like 18 years, but that was in the feds, and I had a couple murder cases in prison and stuff like that, and here in Ohio, but mainly Ohio was just embarrassed because of all the bombs, the bullets, the zip guns, and hostages and stuff like that. So the embarrassment is what I'm still in prison for, because everybody else that's been involved in anything with me has been out on the streets decades ago. Literally decades ago. I'm the only one still in prison. And even though I've been cool for the last 18, 19 years now, it doesn't even matter to them. So, I have to fight that battle with them. I see the parole board in another 2.5 years. And now I fall under that Senate Bill 256 is for juveniles. They just came out with that like a year before I came back to Ohio. And I've been back in Ohio 2.5 years now. And but they just brought out a thing with juveniles saying there's a different criteria. They have to look at us for, talking about the parole board. They have to look at me a different way now, not as an adult, but as a juvenile catching a case, which I was before I got caught.
All right, let me say this. Okay, you heard Mike tell you how he's fighting like hell after 45 and a half years, right? And now, he's fighting to get out, the right way, as a man with his honor and his character. I'm going to ask you this, and no disrespect to you. I just want the YouTube viewers to hear this from a man that's in the belly of the beast. He's in solitary confinement right now as we speak for 5 years, and he's been in 45 and a half years. If you had a chance to tell to get out, would you do it, Mike?
And to tell to get out?
Yeah.
No. I'm right now, how am I going to say this? I grew up in juvenile joints, reformatory, and then prison. Mm-hmm. It's too late in the game to change who I am now. Mm-hmm. Like that's just that's not even in the vocabulary right there. Mm-hmm. Especially at my age now. And I came in at 18, got the case at 17, but I got indicted and stuff at 18. And I'm 64 years old now. It's too late in the game for all that stuff to break weak now. So no. That's never going to happen. Mm-hmm. And I'm fine with that, because I've lived 2/3 of my life in prison or more, and now the best I've got is like maybe 20, 25 or so before go out the back door. So I'm fine with doing if I have to do it here. I'm fine with that.
Mm. You see what I'm saying? I just want you to understand the mentality of men, that have the same moral principles and character that I have. And that's where these brothers are going, and they're going to have to deal with men like this. And they never even phantom men like this exist. Because if I was to do a movie about my man Mike and the things he'd been through, they would swear that it was scripted. They wouldn't even believe it, for them to panic. Listen, Mike, they panic because back in...
You have 1 minute remaining.
Let me say this fast. Because back in the 80s and the early 90s, I was selling 25 keys a day. So they sitting here adding this up and adding that up when how you have good days, you have bad days. You understand? But they want to harp on certain things just to try and belittle you on YouTube. You understand what I'm saying? You wasn't even selling 25 grams, and you feel you could talk to me about selling 25 keys a day. You know what I mean? Some days I had a good day, and I sold 35 and 40. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, I'll tell you what.
And some days I had a bad day. And some days I chose not to go out. Go ahead, Mike, my back.
Yeah, every day is not the same. I'll tell you what, though, if anybody has any doubts about anything that I've said or something, my name is Michael Lee Wood, and all they got to do is look on my Facebook, and I got everything up on my Facebook for everybody to read, from day one, all the cases I've got, the outside cases I've got in prison, everything. Mm-hmm. So if they're in doubt...
Thank you for using GTL.
You see what I'm saying? I've been on here long enough, man. That's why it hurts me to my stomach sometimes to do these YouTube, because I bring jewels. My Instagram is on the screen. Follow me on Instagram. My Cash App is on the screen. There's no one in my last name Hall. It's Hall, not HA1L, none of that. And make sure you hit the icon and say it was created in 2020. It's like these jewels are to be sold, not told. I just let you talk to a man that's in prison for 45 and a half years, still in prison and doing 5 years in solitary confinement, and got multiple murders, kidnapping, wardens, and everything else. I mean, this is stuff for the movies, and I brought them to you. And then, you have these rat bastards and trolls and flip-flop winning and public clowns that try and this I don't even know what comes with it. You know what I mean? Because it don't even make no sense. It's like trying to make something irrational, rational. You know what I mean? Like I said, the streets speak for who we are, man. Cop the book of Row in Harlem, man, and know what time it is, and follow me on Instagram. All right? Let's go.
Cheers, cheers, toast the crime, toast the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime.
Fresh out the can of 26, yeah. He back on the strip, getting back in the mix. Yeah. What he mentions a gift. Bruh. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Real. Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. The Instagram page and the YouTube, you could go and visit. Yeah. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Real. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops, Mecca audio. Get it live like 2 G's in the 90s. Drop top beamer so shiny. I let shorty go, she was whining. Treat her like my past, she behind me. Spend a couple bands on the Dapper Dan. You be back again, getting green like a Packers fan. No cap, it's a roaring uptown. They be horn uptown, Dominican bust downs. Now we on the positive, we got a lot to give. Now he trying to stop the kids from being inoperative. So take heed, homie, lend a ear. He started in uptown, he gon' finish dead. But now it ain't about selling drugs, buying cars. It's about buying property to make the community ours. So we can give back to the youth them, cause they the truth them, and bless up to all the root men.